So hi, my name's Joe Brewer, and I am a change strategist. I have been doing a book series for several months now on topics that help people to design for systemic change in society, dealing with changes in culture, infrastructure, large-scale behavior, and complex problems in the world. So today, the topic that I want to explore is how do people make decisions in complex environments? So when there are a lot of converging factors, when there are small effects in one place that can blow up and lead to large indirect effects in other places. What are the limitations in human psychology? What are the best tools and frameworks for dealing with those limitations to help people make better decisions? And it turns out that there's one book that explores this really well, and that's this book, The Logic of Failure by Dietrich Dörner. And the subtitle is Recognizing and Avoiding Error in Complex Situations. So Dietrich Dörner is a German psychologist who has studied the way that people make decisions in complex environments. Specifically, he's done a series of research studies where people would interact with a computer simulation of an environment where there would be indirect effects. So they would basically be given the power to make decisions for a simulated village where there would be livestock to manage, there would be decisions to be made about what kinds of infrastructure to build or which economic trade-offs should be made. And then people would go through a series of time steps where after they made their decisions, the simulation would compute the next step, and they would go on until either the society would cascade into a collapse, killing off most of the population, or would manage to stabilize and be somewhat healthy and robust. And what he found, maybe not surprisingly, was that in most of the scenarios where people made these decisions, they didn't account for the complexities of the environment, and oftentimes the societies led to collapse. So what was interesting to look at for Dörner and his collaborators was what were the behavioral modes or the activities that prompted people to make effective decisions versus ineffective decisions. Now, there are a lot of factors involved, but I just want to highlight one of the main conclusions that he came to in his research, which is that there was one single measure of human behavior that largely determined whether or not the complexities were addressed correctly or incorrectly. And that one behavior, that one measure, was simply how long the person that was making decisions would continue to ask questions as they ran through the trials. So what this would show is when people would stop asking questions, it meant that they had created in their mind a static representation of what the situation was. And as the situation continued to change, they stopped updating their assumptions and started building a false confidence in their knowledge about what was happening until they would make decisions that were not adaptive. So they would be decisions that would work correctly with their mental representation, but did not work correctly in the changed new environment. So what Dörner and his collaborators found was that if they introduced mechanisms to get people to keep asking questions or to challenge their assumptions or to continue asking questions for longer, that they would manage the complexities in a more adaptive and therefore more effective manner. So this process of observing the way that people create mental representations of the environments they're working in, and then creating feedback mechanisms or tools for intervention to disrupt the decision-making process and get people to reflect and challenge their own assumptions again, was very important for getting people to make better decisions. Why is this important? Because in today's complex, interdependent world, as people make decisions about the way that we should invest in, let's say, transportation infrastructure versus public health, versus affordable housing, versus environmental protection, and where there are all of these interconnections between each of those and they're not actually separate in the real world, if a person has a mental representation of the issues that is static, then they will fail to adapt their thinking to the changing environment. And of course, the environment is changing very rapidly and in really profound ways on a regular basis. So this process of understanding the way that we fail to make effective decisions, and then going back and critiquing and evaluating our own assumptions to continue the process of questioning is how we take our learning process from failure and adapt and be agile and creative to changing environments. Said another way, this is a way of ensuring that people continue to learn, especially from their own mistakes, in changing environments where it's really hard to make good decisions, which increasingly is most important domains of society in the world. So if this is a topic that you're interested in, understanding how the human mind constructs these mental representations, what the psychological biases are that influence whether those decisions are going to be effective or not, and also what the interventions are to help people make better decisions individually and collectively, go and get this book, The Logic of Failure. It's really a wonderful resource, and it'll help you understand how to make better decisions yourself, how to create or introduce existing management tools into your organization to make better decisions. So there you go. Go and learn more about the logic of failure and the tools for making more effective decisions to manage complexity and help make the world a better place. Enjoy.